Welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today. So tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we're going to be talking all about the stuff that is coming up in September that you need to be aware of for Sea of Thieves. On top of that, I'll share a little bit about how the gold hoarders actually saved my bacon when it came to needing to do this episode. So all that and more in this week's episode of Keelhauled Podcast. But before we get into any of that, I have to thank the Patreons. They're the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled Podcast to show their support for this show. And if it wasn't for them, I would not have been able to make an episode this week because they're the ones that went out and supported. It was their donations to the podcast that I was able to take the funds from this month and put it towards a new power supply. So when I was on the trip from California to Ohio, I had packed up my PC. Now I had wrapped it up in a blanket and I thought that that was secure enough because it was going to be going in my car. I wasn't planning on packing it in the U-Haul. I was too worried about stuff. So I packed it with a lot of stuff around the PC tower itself to kind of keep it safe. Everything came out fine. I finally got my PC up and running and I got everything sorted. And after about 15 minutes of it being on, it shut down. Now, I've had this happen in the past and it wasn't too big of an issue. I thought maybe I tripped the circuit breaker on the outlet that I was using because sometimes it can just be too much power draw, right? I was using a 1300 watt power supply for my PC just as like a future proofing power supply for any cards that might come out in the future that require more power. So I was kind of backing myself up thinking like, okay, well, this was the circuit breaker. That's fine. I'll switch outlets. I'll go flip the breaker. And then I noticed everything else on the surge protector that was plugged into that outlet was still getting power. So it wasn't the surge protector and it wasn't the circuit breaker, which meant that it was probably the actual tower. So I plugged it into another surge protector and plugged that surge protector into another outlet and tried to power it on. Nothing, completely dead. I was starting to panic a little bit because I know that there's only one thing that this could be. It could be, parts that were not seated well and it might have shorted out as it was already running. But I had a feeling that it was the power supply because there was no lights or anything on the system. Every time it tried to power on, it wouldn't even get to any kind of boot sequence or BIOS. So I was like, okay, I have a feeling this is the power supply. So I went online and I started to look up power supplies near me. And living where I live now, there are only a few stores in the area within an hour's drive that I can go to that would actually have a power supply. So I was like, okay, I can find the power supply that's the same make and model. I can RMA the one that I have so I can have a backup in case something happens, but I still need a power supply like ASAP. If I'm going to be able to make a podcast this episode for both Xbox Expansion Pass and Keelhauled Podcast, I need to be able to have a working PC. I also need to have a working PC so I can start accessing a lot of the accounts that deal with the billing that goes on when, moving from one place to another. I've already been getting messages like, hey, this auto pay is coming up, by the way. And I'm like, shoot, I forgot to cancel that. I don't need insurance in California anymore. I need to get that changed over. So I was kind of panicking, thinking like, okay, I just spent a lot of money to move from one side of the state or the country to the other. I'm hoping that I don't have to drop too much to be able to pick up a new power supply. And I got an email notification that said that Patreon had just received the payments for all the supporters that had continued to support for September, and I was covered. I had enough to cover a new power supply. And I was grateful that not only was Best Buy something that had power supplies available that would cover the draw that I needed for the tower that I'm using, but also that it was within a price range that would be taken care of by the Patreon fund. So if not for the patrons, I literally would have had to drop money that I really didn't have to be able to continue podcasting. So you all have saved my bacon and I appreciate the heck out of you. So thanks to A-Chick, L-Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Captain Longsharts, Chateau Neuf, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Godhammer 6, Carl Embo of Embo Family Gaming, Kylia the Aficionado, Nightstar 1980, Elvin Vramir, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, Norwegian, Rabid Raccoon, Registella the Brony Pirate, Ribloid, Rustbelt Kid, Sea Leg Sam, Shoe Daddy 13, Tales of the Sea, The Demon Jester, Tommy D, TN Professor, Wailing Witch, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Heger Owl, Jeff H, Captain Duckweed, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lore the Insipid Ghost, and Zam Wow. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for the support. It has really, truly helped with this move, with me making sure that I can still make content for you. I'm next looking into replacing the XLR cable that is connected up to my Go XLR and my microphone, because I'm starting to hear some static in there, and that's generally the first place you want to go to start to replace that kind of stuff. Usually there's been a kink in the cable, and it's not able to have that clarity that I'm used to. So that's next on the list. And if not, I'll have to take a look at some other avenues or things that I can do to kind of clean up the audio. If you don't hear it, don't worry about it. It's because I can hear that in when I'm listening to it, and it bugs me. So I'm going to have to work on getting that fixed up next. But Pirates, thank you so much for the support. And as always, even if you aren't supporting on the Patreon, it helps just to share out the episode, to share out links to the Discord server, to get more folks in, to help kind of grow the community and get more people sailing with other folks and getting crews so they can have adventures with some new friends. First on today's docket, let's talk about what is currently going on in September and into October. Rare's 40th anniversary is going until October 4th, Saturday, October 4th, and you still have time to be able to get your Rare Ruby emote, which is available through Xbox Game Pass Ultimate Perks, and the Rare Ruby hat, which is obtainable through Microsoft Rewards, either through the punch card or the Ancient Coin pack. Now, I will give you a bit of a heads up on this, as I did actually claim this through both. I did the punch card and I did the Ancient Coin pack. The problem was that I never received my hat, and I couldn't understand why. And it wasn't until I actually completed the punch card and it told me to go over to my order history to be able to redeem the code itself that I realized that back on August 4th, when I purchased the Rare Ruby Secret Stash pack for 1,700 points and get the Ancient Coin, I was actually given a code that I did not claim. I have since redeemed that code, but I did notice that on the 7th of October, which is the day of recording, that the Rare Ruby hat code is there as well, which means that I now have an additional code. I'm going to be holding on to this code till after October 4th when this ends, so that if I have someone who has not actually gotten the hat, what I can do is I can do that as a giveaway on the podcast. Now, that is something that I'm going to be doing after the fact, so it's up to you to decide if you want to wait and get a chance to try and redeem that when the podcast episode goes live, or you can still work through the actual punch card, which is free as long as you have access to Microsoft on both your mobile and desktop system. The way you go about that is you want to start the punch card, visit Rare's website, and then you have 5 days on both desktop and mobile that you need to do searches for. Doesn't matter what you search, but it does matter how you search. You need to make sure that you are getting those checkboxes off for each day, and you do have to wait 24 hours from the last time you used the search. So you want to take a look at that and make sure that you're going through each day. You have to start the punch card before September 24th, which is at this point a few weeks away. And the end of the event is going on till October 4th. So as long as you've activated the punch card before September 24th, then you should still have time to be able to actually get the Rare Ruby hat. It is a bunch of hoops that you have to jump through. It is much easier to get it just through purchasing an Ancient Coin pack of or bonus. I have seen that is a limited thing, and that the people that initially did it with the 1700 points has jumped up since then. So take a look through the rewards and see what's still available for you. Actually, I wanted to make a quick addendum as I just went to double check to actually see like where we're at with that. It does look like you can go back in and redeem for the 1700 points to be able to get 150 coins. That is ancient coins that you can then use in the Pirate Emporium store, and you will actually get that code for the rare ruby hat. So just a quick heads up on that as well too. The increments go for 150 coins, 550 coins, and 1,000 coins, with 1,000 coins equaling up to 8,500 Microsoft reward points that you have to earn to be able to redeem this. It is something that you can get just by playing through Game Pass or doing searches, quizzes, things like that, to be able to earn reward points. So it's not too difficult, and there is still time for you to be able to do it that way if you'd prefer, and you don't want to go through the punch card system of doing the searches for 5 days. So options are available for you if you'd like. Next on today's docket, we are going to be getting a new song available on Spotify and other streaming platforms called The Fine Art of Theft. This is going to be releasing on September 12th, which is this upcoming Friday, and is going to be the epic soundtrack from the Smuggler's Heist event. So keep an ear out for that if that is something that you're looking into. I definitely have been liking the music that's been coming out from Rare, but I always like the music that's been coming out for Rare, so no big surprise there. But happy to see another song coming in from the team available on streaming platforms. The big thing here is, I have to say, the next act of season 17, as season 1, first act 1 this last month has been fairly light. I think a lot of folks are pretty much done, if not completely done, with all of the commendations, which is something that Rare said that they were looking to address given the latest feedback from season 16 and 15. And as such, most folks are kind of just out there doing veils or hourglass or other random things, like trying to get their Reaper chests and chests of fortune finished up for the latest introduction of new grades to the commendations in the Adventures at Sea. So with Act 2 beginning on September 18th, I'm expecting that this week will be the traditional week where they start putting out some of the promotional material on what to expect with the heist. This is going to be standard for the different seasonal acts. Like, we're going to be getting the update that will give us another Voyage of Luck. We'll get the gold bonuses as well for logging in within that first week of the update. But this is actually where we're going to be getting the field of view cap increase from 90 to 110. And it's interesting to kind of see some of the conversation around this, as people have been kind of like saying that they want to have like a wider range of view when at the helm. A lot of people saying that the 110 is still too much. A lot of people looking forward to the 110 increase as well. I'll probably be dabbling myself into the 110, as when I do play FPS games, I usually bump it up to at least 100. 90 is kind of rare. I do like to have that wider pan. Or at least a peripheral vision when I'm playing FPS games. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out with the community and what they like, what they don't like. But overall, I think this will be a boon to the game, especially for players on PC who tend to live in that 100 to 110 range. Additionally, coming with this update is going to be a new stock of items over at the Outpost shops. So be sure to head over to the shipwright and talk to them about the Russet Resolute ship cosmetics that are coming in. And as such, the Lucky Rover instruments and equipment are going to be making their way to the shops as well. For Pirate Legends, there are some exclusives that you can get. If you head down into the hideout, you can pick up the Legendary Fortune weapon set. In the Pirate Emporium, there are some new things coming out. And a pirate pugilist, I think is how you say it, set is being put in for Ancient Coin. There is a free 1-2 punch emote, and the Inner Sanctum items from Season 14's Plunder Pass will be made available. When looking at the pugilist set, I am kind of confused because I do think that the color scheme is actually fairly well done. I do like the blue and the red with the gold trimming. But on the sails themselves, they have what look to be some spiked brass knuckles. I'm very familiar with brass knuckles. I've seen them in plenty of things, and I know to expect that there are typically 4 places for your fingers to slide into to be able to protect your knuckles and use them at the best you can when punching, right? So looking at this, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. 4 finger holes for 4 brass knuckles all along your knuckles, right? Then I get to the costume. And this is where it kind of looks like a boxing trousers with a waistcoat, kind of, I don't know. Yeah, just like a waistcoat, like a jacket or something with no sleeves and just kind of like covering your top. And it has a nice one little epaulet that's on there, which is kind of cool looking. The problem that I have is that whoever designed this decided to put the brass knuckle icon or like accent piece on the waistcoat with only 3 places for your fingers. And I'm genuinely confused by this. I've never seen brass knuckles that only do 3 fingers. I'm actually kind of interested to see, like, are there brass knuckles that only have 3 fingers? Because looking at it, I've only seen 4. Not to say that there aren't something like 2. I could imagine 2. But 3 is an odd one. And maybe this is just me. Maybe this is just like the lack of exposure that I have. And feel free to let me know if you have ever seen brass knuckles that only cover 3 fingers. And I guess that makes sense. You know, the 3 main knuckles that you're going to be using are your first, middle, and ring, with the pinky being kind of an outlier. But generally, if I'm thinking about brass knuckles, I would imagine you'd want to protect all of the knuckles and not just select few when trying to make these kind of weapons. But again, me nitpicking that the waistcoat on a cosmetic that you spend actual money for has a slightly odd looking brass knuckle that doesn't match the actual ship set that has 4 brass knuckles on the sails. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, it looks like the figurehead, which I don't know why they went this route, but it's literally a boxing glove on as the figurehead. It does look like it has a set of brass knuckles that wrap around a very nice kind of pleated fabric backing to the actual figurehead, which does look like it only has 3 holes for brass knuckles. So I don't know. Is this a thing? Is this a thing that I'm just not familiar with? Am I the one that's misunderstood, that I don't know what's going on? Or is it the children? Regardless, I'm sure someone will probably be able to justify it some way. But the thing that I do like is that the Inner Sanctum stuff is coming to the Emporium, I believe. If you wanted to purchase those, that is that kind of set that's like the green and gray gargoyle-esque set. The figurehead is actually really cool, as well as the actual capstan, where it's like a green gooey well that has a green hand holding a chalice in it, as well as like a I don't even know, like a gargoyle kind of archway that has a green hands coming out of this portal in it. And the cosmetics for it are just, I always liked it. I thought it was really cool. I think they did a nice job kind of creating these. So those are going to be making their way back to the Emporium for purchase outside of the Plunder Pass. This is just the more expensive way of obtaining these, as opposed to when you actually get into season 14 or you get into a season in general, purchase the Plunder Pass to obtain those cosmetics at a much cheaper cost or cheaper buy-in. So happy to see that making its way back. Hopefully folks who missed out on it will get to enjoy it. I have enjoyed it for as much as I needed to during the time that I had it. Next on today's docket, I think is going to be the thing that is the most interesting for everyone coming into Act 2 of Season 17, where we're really going to have a good time. As I mentioned earlier, I think this is going to be the week where Rare kind of releases some of the videos kind of detailing what the Smuggler's Heist event will entail. Some of the details in the actual article that they put out recently didn't dive too much into it. They kept it pretty close. No, what I'm trying to say here, they kept it pretty simple. Yeah, simple. So there's not a whole lot of details outside of what we already know, but we do know that you are going to have to fight your way to the actual Royal Crest Fortress, and that you are going to have to fight against the skeletons for the Bone and Blade a group, Flameheart's group. So the Royal Crest Fortress, I do appreciate that they are going with one that isn't necessarily in the wilds, right? Like, I feel like having a Royal Crest Fortress is probably my favorite one that is down in the Ancient Isles, or no, not the Ancient Isles. Shores of Plenty. Oh my gosh. So if you guys don't know, the Royal Crest Fortress is the one that is it's like west of Lone Cove and north of the Hidden Springs Keep. So it's funny to me because I think this is the one that is right where you can actually pop up for an hourglass match, which that's always fun. That's always, you go into an hourglass and people have some sort of expectation that it'll be just a ship versus ship battle, whether you decide to use curse balls or bone collars or whatever you want as you're kind of diving for those hourglass matches. But then to pop up next to the fortress and be like, oh, we're gonna get smacked by the fort because we just happen to pop up next to it. It's funny to me. I'm sure it's aggravating if you lose to it, but there's only so much you can really do at Sea of Thieves. Also, it's like adventure, you just take it for what it is. So I'm glad that they're doing this. I'm glad that they're having this available for quite a while. So if you're curious, this is going to be going on from Thursday, September 18th, which is not this week. It is next week. So we'll be talking more about the details around this. But then it is going to be going until October 16th. So halfway through September to halfway through October. The fun thing about this is that September 18th is the update, which is actually the day before International Talk Like a Pirate Day. So that's kind of a nice, fun little celebration. And typically Rare does, and they have mentioned this, a little bit of a discount on stuff when International Talk Like a Pirate Day happens. They usually celebrate it in some fashion or another. But to kind of keep on Smuggler's Heist event, what you have to expect is that you're going to be asked by the smugglers to go steal one of Flameheart's prized paintings from the Royal Crest Fortress. Why he has it there, I have no idea. But you will have to defend yourself against Order of Bone and Blade skeletons. And if you manage to turn it in, you will be able to claim 175,000 gold. This is by far the most gold at a base level for any item that has ever been introduced into Sea of Thieves. And it's a good thing they're not doing double golden glory on this weekend, because boy, that would be a ton of gold. Effectively, what is that? 350,000 if it was at rank 5, or no, actually that's just double. Gosh, I can't even imagine. Well, there's no smuggler emissary, so I'm not sure how you would you wouldn't be able to get the emissary grade on that. So yeah, double golden glory would bring it up to 350,000 gold at double the gold return on that. So really cool that they're doing one that is like one item for 175k. It is a month-long event. I imagine that they will probably have commendations tied to this as an expansion to Season 17's content. They'll ask you to go and kill a certain number of skeletons. I honestly probably could go on Insiders and just take a look and actually let you guys know, but I haven't had time to be able to do that, unfortunately, with the move and then unpacking and everything. So we'll probably have more details coming this week if you don't know already. And then we can go ahead and dive into like the details of what to expect or best ways to kind of approach this as well. I'm sure there are probably going to be a lot of people going back and cooking merfruit to be able to hide their mermaids so they can tuck on this to try and get stolen paintings from people trying to steal them. I don't know if that could be a thing. That would be really ironic that they would ask you to steal stolen items from other pirates, but that's also a very rare thing to do. So you never know how that's going to play out. Next on today's docket, let's talk about what's going to kick off on September 19th, the day after the next update. It is International Talk Like a Pirate Day, and as such, they are going to be doing an Emporium sale. They are going to be discounting the Stone Isle Hopper Outlaw set, as well as the Labyrinth Looter set. There are parrot bundles, weapons, and emotes on sales, as well as a return for the Pretty Polly sale. So if you haven't had a chance to actually go get some of those, definitely take an opportunity to take advantage of the sale. Next, you've also got some Twitch drops. So with the Twitch drops, as always, you're going to be able to get these by watching any of the Sea of Thieves partners during that week from September 19th all the way until September 26th. You can pick up, after watching 6 hours of streaming, 75,000 gold, 1 level of seasonal renown, a voyage of luck, the Eastern Winds Ruby Blunderbuss to go along with the weapons that were recently released in the community weekend, as well as the Gilded Voyage of the Ancient Isles, which is a pretty good one. And I will say that you do want to be careful because there are definitely going to be people out there hunting folks during that time, as well as the Gilded Phoenix Shovel. There's also going to be the Amethyst Mercenary Boots, which is part of the Amethyst or the Mercenary set as far as like what they what was it called? The Black Dog Sea Dog, or the Black Sea Dog set. Those mercenary boots are the amethyst version of it, as well as the Mandrake figurehead. So just a reminder, that is stuff that has been labeled for the weekend of the 19th up until the 26th for Sea of Thieves partners only. Something that you'll want to make sure that you're paying attention to now, though, as of recording, you still have time to be able to go and get the Obsidian Captain's Logbook, as well as the Obsidian Captain's Table. This is going to be going on till September 12th at 10 a.m. UTC, and you need to watch an hour and a half of streamer time. Doesn't matter who you're watching. If they're streaming Sea of Thieves, you can earn this from them, but you do need to earn 2 or 3 hours total for both items. Previously, the Captain's Table was available in past updates or past Twitch drops, whereas the logbook is something that is new and has not been released. So make sure that you're going over to Twitch, that you do have your Microsoft account connected, and that you are working towards those 90 minutes per item. This is the Twitch drops that were then available as such from beating 100,000 world events over the community weekend. Just a reminder for some of the stuff that is still currently available. There is a new SOT shot that is up called Smuggling Scenes. The deadline for this is going to be September 7th at 11 a.m. UTC. There will be a prize of 8 golden hour sales. So throw in the Smugglers League and show the shots that best convey how to smuggle. You make sure that those are posted over on social media, making sure to @ Sea of Thieves, their handle, as well as hashtag SOT shot where applicable. Then you've also got the legendary Ruby figurehead, or the Ruby Legend figurehead, which indicates the 40 years of rare. That should be available to everyone who set sail over Season 17's community weekend. If you haven't gotten that, now would be a good time to double check to make sure that you put in a ticket to get access to that, especially if you did sail over that time. And last but not least, there is the Fan the Hammer emote. This is still currently available in the Pirate Emporium for free. So if you want to get your cowboy fandoms out in Sea of Thieves, that is still currently available. Make sure you're going over to the Emporium and claiming that, as well as some of the other ones that you may not have actually claimed, because there are still some of those free ones in there. So I did not get a chance to really experience the community weekend. So I really don't have an idea of how well the pop-up plunder went or how people enjoyed it. If they did enjoy it or if they didn't, or if they just waited for the social media sites to tell people where to go to get it. I was just having the road trip, which worked out really well for the most part. There were some hiccups here and there, and that's always the case. But it's one of those things that I wish I had had the opportunity. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to get to the next community weekend or double golden glory. Now that I have my base curses, it'd be nice to just kind of go out and earn some gold and just kind of like be able to capitalize on the emissary grades and stuff. So it's definitely one of those things where I was sad that we didn't get a chance to actually get in there and do that. But again, thanks to Godhammer, who was able to complete a world event, a dive world event for us to be able to get the figurehead, because I would have felt really bad if I'd missed out on the Rare's 40th anniversary figurehead for that, given that I have the 35-year one. So I'm glad that I got that in the cosmetics now. I don't have to worry about it, but it is kind of a bummer that it was one of those, like, you can only do this on this weekend. And to be perfectly honest, if it wasn't for Xbox Game Pass and cloud streaming, we would have missed out on it. Because and honestly, I think HIC actually had to subscribe for Game Pass Ultimate to be able to get it. Not that it's the end of the world if you don't get something like that, but as fans of the game, it is something like you want to participate. You do want to get access to that. You know, you watch all the Twitch drops, you subscribe to Game Pass for the perks, you go through the punch cards, and then there's one thing that just you cannot do unless you actually get in there and do it. And if you don't have access to the game in some fashion outside of just mobile cloud streaming, you're kind of left out in a rut. And if you know, you don't have friends that are available to be able to help you out with that, it's kind of a bummer. So I recognize that there is a noticeable amount of FOMO that Rare needs to create to be able to drive engagement for these sort of things. But it is kind of a bummer when something like this happens and people don't get to be able to, or don't have a way of being able to access that content because of outside life just being a thing. So at the end of the day, it's a video game. It's all pixels, you know, it's just digital ones and zeros that have made their way into our hearts. But I am glad and grateful for the community being able to step up to help out, not only with that, but many other things as well too. And with that, Pirates, I think we may actually close out this episode a little bit earlier. I thought I was going to be able to talk more about some of the stuff that's coming in this month, but with us just not having the full details on the heist outside of insiders and just kind of the layout of what's going on and not getting a chance to actually participate in season 17's community event, I feel like I'm at a loss. So maybe that's just because I actually have not gotten to do a whole lot of sailing over the last week as I've been busy with life, but there is plenty of time for the rest of this month to give me plenty of stories. I will say that I did come across a really, really well skilled crew in Hourglass this weekend. And after getting dumpstered 3 times in Hourglass, I was very much ready to skip onto a different stamp. So things are settling in as I continue to get settled in here with the new place. And I will probably have a lot more stories or feedback on how things are going with Sea of Thieves as such. But with that, Pirates, I appreciate all of you for checking out the missing episode from Caleb as they dove into some of the completionist information about how they feel or how they approach completing things in Sea of Thieves, and the kind of mental ethics around like what would be considered an exploit or not, or how those should be addressed by Rare, which I think at the end of the day is interesting conversation to have, much like having conversations with people that do purely Hourglass or TDM, some of the folks that only play PvE or jump onto Alliance servers. Things like that are always kind of interesting to kind of reach out and get different perspectives from time to time. And I appreciate Caleb taking the time to round people up to make an episode when there probably wouldn't have been, given how I was unable to recover the conversation that he and I had beforehand. So pirates, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. As always, if you want to get in touch with me, there's plenty of ways to do that. Head over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast if you're a gold hoarder to message me directly there. You can always message me on Discord or join the Discord server itself. Unfortunately, I was denied the affiliate alliance sale, so I don't have any way to kind of do anything fun like that. Maybe if we can get some more people in the Discord, we can break that 1,000 member score. We can do a reapplication for that, as I'm not niche enough to cover that. So we'll see if we can try and get that in the future. Always good goals to have, but otherwise, feel free to reach me over on social medias. I'm on Twitter and Blue Sky, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's about it as far as YouTube comments. Those always help the algorithm. So if you are listening to this and you made it all the way through, give me some sort of emoji that tells me how your weekend went. That's a good one. I like that one. And pirates, with that, thank you all so much. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.